she continues to dominate popularity-wise in the polling despite the fallout from Photogate. And I'm so excited that we had people see her over the weekend. It might calm some of the chaos going on online. Kate Middleton is tagged 1.6 million times on Instagram, over 111,000 posts on TikTok with over 13 billion views using the same tag. So hopefully this will calm some of the hysteria surrounding the pair online, especially with the report that she looked happy, relaxed, and healthy over the weekend after a sporting event cheering on the kiddos.
Do you really think it's going to calm that speculation, though, Kinsey? Because I think, you know, we've not seen a photograph of her. Obviously, this photograph on the front page of The Sun is from last autumn. It's obviously an eyewitness account. But do you really think until Kate is out there, seen live, as it were, that these rumours are going to be quashed in any way?
Well, that's a great question. And we did hear from the Times on Sunday over the weekend that we could see her after the children return to school after Easter break. Also, the Daily Mail reporting, don't be surprised if we see her during the Easter holiday at church. But a really compelling piece about what's happening behind the scenes inside the Wales home, that the family has been disappointed by this experience. They trusted people would give them space. They say what Prince William has found especially challenging is the feeling that the couple's bubble is coming under threat.
A happy and healthy Kate was spotted out and about for the first time since surgery. We've seen pictures of her, obviously, this posed photograph. There's been all this furore about, which she apparently was the one who edited. We've also seen her on TMZ in America, a shot of her in a car being driven by her mother. But apparently she was out at her favourite farm shop, looking, onlookers said, happy, relaxed and healthy on the visit just a mile from her home in Windsor on Saturday. What's interesting, though, is there are no photos. There are photographs in the papers and online, some of them from this farm, but they're actually a year old. They're not actually of Kate, which makes you wonder that no one had a phone there and no one thought of taking a photograph of her, which is unfortunately what she's had to deal with a lot of the time. Do you have any concerns about her health and how the palace is handling all of this? Because surely, after all this furore, she could just pose for a photograph and get it all over and done with today.
Well, I most certainly have had concerns about the way all this has been handled. I mean, we go back just a week and the news had only just broken that photograph, charming photograph, which was put on Instagram to celebrate Mothering Sunday. And then, of course, no less than, well, eventually 5 photo agencies refused to disseminate it or withdrew it. So, I mean, obviously this has been something of a crisis, and obviously the way it's been handled, and especially in editing, when you, for example, haven't got your engagement ring and wedding ring, and there's been all sorts of material online that we don't need to go into here. But I mean, it's a very difficult time. She's been seriously ill and she's been recuperating. I'm only absolutely delighted that apparently, and certainly according to that photograph, my initial response was she looks fantastic.
Yeah,
yes,
okay,
you're
but
right.
I want to move on from that. My God, we discussed that ad nauseum last week. But this is the thing: all that furore over that, all of that issue, and they're still talking about her. You know, she's still recovering and she's not back in the public eye. Now, I've never had any issue with the poor woman, which has obviously had a serious operation, needs recuperation time. Leave her alone. People saying to me, leave her. Never criticised her for that. I wouldn't wish being in a royal family on my worst enemy. All of that scrutiny. People are allowed to have a health ailment and be left on their own.
Allegedly, Kate was spotted at her favourite farm shop in Windsor on Saturday, with onlookers saying she looked happy, relaxed and healthy. It comes as royal sources suggest the future Queen will reveal the full extent of her surgery when she returns to public duties, potentially as early as next month.
And we're still joined by political commentator Reem Ibrahim. Well, you know, this is quite clearly a staged appearance. You don't go to a Windsor a farm shop without getting spotted if you're Kate, the Princess of Wales. So she goes there with the kids. This is an attempt to say, look, she's fine. Look, here's a picture of her with her kids.
No pictures, though.
No, but there's no pictures.
Well,
This is the
okay.
point. There are no pictures, but there are apparently a couple of people that have told The Sun and other newspapers that they've seen her out at the farm shop. So clear, I mean, this is so clearly planted and staged. My question is, if they did this, then why were there no pictures taken?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was an order basically saying, please don't take pictures, respect her privacy. Do you know, this morning I had...
The paparazzi always do
but
that.
this morning...
in Windsor would have taken pictures.
But this morning I had paused to reflect on this whole situation after having a sort of boozy brunch with all my girlfriends yesterday and Kate being the main topic of conversation, as often happens at boozy brunches. But this morning I woke up looking like a hammerhead shark because I have quite severe atopy. My eczema can hugely flare up for no discerning reason. And literally my eyelids swell up a lot, like I've been in the boxing ring with Mike Tyson. And so I didn't do the 9:30 show this morning. I took a shed load of antihistamine, sat under a fan and thought, there's no way I'm putting this fizzog anywhere near a camera. And who knows what Kate is going through, whether she's taking steroids, whether she's taking, if she's had some sort of transplant and needs other medical... We don't know.
Transplant?
Oh, it's one of the theories that was discussed at brunch.
We don't know that,
No, nobody knows anything, right? And there might be, if you've had some very serious abdominal surgery, you'd imagine there's a sort of medical process that continues after that. And who knows what that medication is doing to that poor young woman. And if she wakes up in the morning looking anything like I looked this morning, then I don't blame her for saying I don't want to show my face.
Yeah, I mean, there was a really great piece in The Telegraph, I think, by Camilla Tomley, basically talking about the way in which the media have spoken about Kate over the last few weeks, the speculation around her health and also around her family, the whole saga with #Photogate, and all of the saga around that, the sort of drama around her health and the kind of conspiracy theories that have been entirely fueled by it. Actually, if this is how we treat young women in the media, especially somebody that we all love and respect so much, like Kate, wonder why they feel as though they have to hide when they're going through something serious.
Exactly right. So you can't blame the media. The media are bound to speculate.
Of course,
they're bound to pour petrol on the storm, as it were.
With Kate, the Princess of Wales, we know that she's had a major abdominal operation. We don't know what it is and we don't know what's really been going on with her health, but we knew that she wasn't going to appear in public till Easter. We were warned of it. We were told why. That should have been enough, Afia, shouldn't it?
But isn't that why we always say you don't know what people are going through? Therefore, you should always treat them with kindness. Because you're right, we didn't know, but we still should have afforded Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, kindness. We still should afford the Princess of Wales kindness. Absolutely. Doesn't matter whether we know what they're going through or not. Privacy and kindness should be standard across the board.
Let's bring Tessa into this conversation. Yeah, go on, Tessa. Go on.
Yeah, well, I'm a little sceptical about what the word kindness means. The problem with the royal family is they're an institution of state funded by the sovereign grant. And I think that was one of the things that Meghan found very hard to get her head around, understandably so. In Hollywood, most of the big glossies, the magazines, you get sign off on the photographs, you often get sign off on the copy. You're not interrogated in the same way because you're not working for the state. You're just a celebrity working on your profile, which is why they've opted for that lifestyle over in California now. And likewise, that idea of privacy, yes, I concur that Kate deserves her privacy because she's had a major operation, but they are public figures. That is part of their role as an institution of state. And I think one of the reasons why this has unraveled or got so out of hand is because it's coincided with the absence of the king, which is also a big deal. He's very old, but he's new to the throne. And secondly, it's highlighted, I think weirdly, people hadn't really clocked, and that is that the royal family's been severely hollowed out over the last few years. We've lost the mainstays, Philip and Elizabeth, to death and old age, Harry and Meghan for obvious reasons, Andrew, as we all know all too well. And I think it was only when Kate disappeared, because she's so sort of significant and glamorous and such a reliable mainstay. She's always very physically accomplished, whether it's knocking out those babies and putting her denier tights straight back on, or playing tennis with Emma Raducanu. And so I don't think we'd ever conceive that she might need time. There might be a physical problem there. And it's taken people by shock.
Kinsey, welcome to the Independent Republican microphone once more. Happy Monday to you. Now, you've seen that for the first time, literally seconds after I did. Tell me what you think of it. Tell me what you make of it.
Well, we did hear over the weekend, there was an article in the Times that clearly the Prince and Princess of Wales gave some close friends permission to talk to this reporter. And one of the things that stood out to me was this quote about Prince William finding it especially challenging, all of this attention, and feeling that the couple's bubble is coming under threat. And then you see pictures of them in a parking lot, and you see video of them in a parking lot a mile away from their home, and you realize their bubble truly is coming under threat. And this is exactly what I was concerned about with all the social media speculation, that privacy that they worked so hard to build around them and for their children and their family around Windsor was going to be jeopardized because of somebody wanting attention online.
Exactly right. But it has been getting to ridiculous proportions. I mean, I don't know if you've noticed it, Kinsey, but I particularly have. I mean, obviously, I've got family over there. I've got a lot of friends in the United States and people who you wouldn't normally expect to be minutely interested in the ins and outs of the life of Kate and William have been sort of texting me, sending me WhatsApp messages, what's going on, how is this happening, what the hell is going to be next, and all of that. I'm hoping that this piece of footage that we've just seen will lay all of that to waste, won't it?
Absolutely. I'd like for my ex-boyfriend's roommates to stop sending me text messages asking about the Princess of Wales. We no longer communicate with each other. I don't understand why you think you have that permission to do that. But here in the States specifically, Catherine's net favorability rating among Americans continues to dominate. You know, she's plus 37 points versus Meghan Markle's plus 8. So the American media and American public is very much enamored with this woman.
Problem is, this has just got to such a farcical point now. Is she alive? Was she having an affair? Was William having an affair? Is there a love child? Is she actually, I don't know, a taxidermied version of herself on casters being rolled out of that Windsor farm shop? Is it Christmas time? That they've left it so long and the conspiracy's got so big that even this isn't going to silence those who've got their own agenda and their own ideas.
Absolutely. This won't silence. It'll just fuel it. I mean, this is the terrible plight they've put themselves into. It was a terrible mistake to go out on a Saturday morning to a very popular farm shop. They had to expect to be filmed there. I think they just now lost the plot. They just have to sit down with some serious grown-ups and decide what they're going to do to stop the avalanche of speculation and bad publicity.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Tom, they have now steered themselves in through a kind of combination, a toxic combination of amateurishness and incompetence into an absolute global mess. And they have to do something about it. Their response so far, Kensington Palace, seems to be, we'll use all our old techniques. We'll sort of filter them out and we'll get to a picture of Kate smiling. And then if you go to this event, you might catch her talking to a member of the public. And if you turn your microphones up, you might get some useful stuff that will kill all of this wild speculation about what's wrong with her. My suggestion is this, because this is unprecedented, this is out of control. It is ridiculous, the things that are being said about poor Kate as she recovers from her condition, particularly in America, but around the world. My suggestion is this, unprecedented situation, stick William and Kate in front of a camera, nice little chat saying, really, this is ridiculous. I'm absolutely fine. As I told you in the first place, I've had abdominal surgery. I'll be ready at Easter. I'll be back in action. Please stop all this nonsense.
Princess Kate, and supposedly an investigation going on at the London clinic because people or somebody has been trying to access her confidential notes. Very serious story for the London clinic, this, if they find that somebody was trying to do that.
Yeah, total, it could well be, it is, from looking at it, a breach of total, patient confidentiality, which if you work in the healthcare service, that's probably the first thing you sign up to actually make sure that people's conditions are, don't get out there. It's a very personal thing.
This frenzy of sort of activity and the numbers of people who are absolutely obsessed with this story, that even after the video came out yesterday, they're not interested. No. It's definitely not them. They know everything. It's a bit like, I used to get these people on my late night radio show who didn't believe that, man landed on the moon. They didn't believe that 9/11 was...
Oh, no, and everything you say just feeds the conspiracy.
And everything, well, of course, you must know that this happened, therefore, that must be true.
Yeah. But let's not forget that the King is also being treated. It was, you know, he was treated at the London Clinic.
Right.
This is a potential...
And it's still being treated, we think.
Very secure, you know, should be a very secure hospital. But can you imagine for a moment how vulnerable... I mean, we know that Kate must already be feeling vulnerable and, you know, under attack and under a lot of scrutiny. But the idea that someone... That your hospital, where you've been treated, that they are, you know, that they have your medical records... As any patient, you know, not even a royal patient, not even the most famous woman in the world, because the frenzy in America about Kate at the moment is off the charts.
It is.
But imagine knowing they've got your medical records and that potentially a nurse, as we saw a few years ago when the Australian radio station that Michael Cole was talking about, when the Australian radio station called up the nurses and got private information. I don't know how Kate is coping with all this right now. It must be horrific.
Our royal editor, Sarah Hewson, is back with us to discuss this.
Hurrah!
Hello again, Sarah. Interesting from some of those texts and emails from viewers there, saying that actually a lot of this is fueled by a care for Kate and wanting to make sure that she is OK, but ultimately some people have gone too far.
Yes, I think there's two strands to this. There is a lot of concern for Kate and a lot of interest in what has happened to her, which comes from concern. But just because we're interested in what's happened and we want to know doesn't mean we have a right to know. She's got a public profile, but she's not public property, actually, and she is entitled, as anyone else, to medical privacy. And so the story this morning that a member of staff or several members of staff, we don't know the numbers, at the London Clinic tried to access her private medical records is really concerning. We don't know if they managed to do that or whether they were stopped in the process of doing it. But as you said, Nicola, it is illegal as a member of staff working in an NHS or private medical facility to attempt to breach someone's personal medical information is a criminal offence. There is an investigation going on at the London Clinic. The Information Commissioner's Office is also looking into this as well. So I think it is really a very serious twist in what has already been a very twisted saga, really.
And keeps this furore going. You were away. I just wanted to throw something to you that was said to... Well, in fact, we both said this last week. I understand that photo created all sorts of hysteria. I understand that conspiracy theorists online wrote and said things of which I've read none but have heard of many. I understand that the princess then came out and said, you know, I'm sorry, this is what I do. Can I throw something at you as a royal correspondent? You know what a royalist I am. Do you know what annoyed me most about that? Was that the photo wasn't taken by her, whether it was taken by William or somebody else. To me, at that moment when she was and is ill, and we should not be bullying her, not online, not on television, and certainly not within Kensington Palace, I felt like they threw her under the bus somewhat, and she had to face up to that, and I'm being completely serious. And I say that because I think she's amazing. I'm not accusing her husband, he might have taken the photograph. I'm accusing Kensington Palace. I think they threw her out there, and I think that's half the problem, which is why a lot of people are concerned.
I think she's a thoroughly decent person.
Yeah, I agree.
She wanted to put her hands up and say, look, it was me.
Do you think she was forced?
I don't think she was forced, but, you know, she is surrounded by advisors whose job it is to look after those things. It's not for Kate to know the rules and regulations of picture agencies. Someone should have checked that photo knowing that it was so important. The stakes on that photo were so high, and I really do think she was let down by those around her.
When we think of royal security, we largely think about preventing people from, getting, terrorists getting to the royal family, or protesters of some sort who could cause them an injury, or even the sort of fans who are obsessed. Whereas actually, I suppose nowadays it also includes cyber security, these sort of health records. One of the reasons why we understand the royals use this hospital, the London Clinic, and former American presidents and others, is because they've got very strict security and they believe that the confidentiality of their health records is safe. It would appear not.
Well, yes, you're absolutely right. And of course, Russell Myers from The Mirror broke this last night, as I understand it, and he's the royal editor. And clearly somebody has revealed some of these allegations. And at the moment, all we know is that it is an allegation that somebody alleged to be a member of staff actually tried or did get hold of the records. That, as far as I know, is all we know. Now, clearly, this is a breach of a 2018 Act, Section 178, if everybody's interested, where clearly it makes it illegal for anyone to try and get into personal records. I've experienced this myself as an expert witness giving evidence when my details were revealed to a third party. It is horrible.
Yeah.
And if this is true, then clearly whoever are behind it, whatever their motives are, they should be dealt with by the police, not the data
absolutely.
commissioner.
I mean, it's an outrageous
but the
breach of
police.
trust. It's an outrageous. I mean, even for anyone just ordinary, people like me, just the idea that someone could get into your medical records and could divulge them to someone. Question is the motivation. Was it just sort of interest, nosiness, again, still absolutely unacceptable, or were they planning to sell that information to a third party? I imagine there is huge amounts of money swirling around trying to get information about what's happened to Kate because of the lack of information from the palace, which I think is perfectly justified. She's entitled to her medical privacy. But we know unscrupulous websites and the paparazzi types around the world would want to get a hold of that information, even though, of course, the British media wouldn't be allowed to go anywhere near it, and quite rightly.
Well, again, you're right. And speaking for I wish people would just leave the princess alone.
Yeah.
And to a degree, stop giving these lunatics the airtime to be discussing it.
Russia is spreading conspiracy theories about Kate Middleton's health in an attempt to destabilise the UK and the royal family. Let's bring in former senior military intelligence officer Philip Ingram. Good to have you on board as always, Philip. Do you put much store by this? Is this the sort of thing the Kremlin would get up to, putting out more and more of these wild theories about what's up with Kate?
Oh, 100%. They can see the reaction in the mainstream press across the UK and across the globe, and they're playing it. They're quite happy doing that. We saw the Kremlin put out a notification that King Charles had died, and Kensington Palace had to turn around and say, no, he hasn't. But it's all part of Russian tactics. We're in a year of 60 elections across the globe. It's all trying to find little things that will disrupt the mainstream media, disrupt the narrative that's coming out from our politicians, disrupt anything, and do as many of them as possible, to use the old sort of Chinese style of death of 1,000 cuts.
And I think both she and the Prince of Wales will be very angry about this. The fact that at her most vulnerable, when she has been admitted to hospital for major surgery, that someone has tried to access her private medical data. And, it doesn't matter that she's the Princess of Wales. It doesn't matter who she is. Like every single one of us, she is entitled to confidentiality when it comes to her medical records. And that's actually a law. You are not able, if you work in an NHS or a private setting, a member of staff there, you are not entitled or allowed to access someone else's private data without the right permissions. And so we've now got the Information Commissioner's Office investigating, the London Clinic saying they've got an investigation. The police have been asked to investigate as well. I mean, it is very, very serious indeed.
I mean, you'd imagine there would be the ultimate checks and balances on that particular record, wouldn't there? Every record must be secure, everyone must be private, but that one, my God, would be so ring-fenced in all kinds of codes and security measures that you would imagine it would be absolutely impossible. The Fort Knox of all medical reports. But do we know whether the person or the people who tried to access it succeeded or whether they didn't?
We know that they tried to access her medical information, but what we don't know is how much they were able to see, if anything at all, or whether it was an attempt to do so.
Princess Kate's alleged hacking scandal has deepened after the privacy watchdog launched a probe into the London clinic for delaying the breach report, prompting concerns of a cover-up. The prestigious private hospital is currently investigating 3 workers following claims that they tried to access Kate's medical records during her treatment in January. Personal data breaches must be reported within 72 hours, but it appears that the facility didn't notify the authorities until more than a week after the royal was discharged. While King Charles was admitted to the same clinic for an enlarged prostate procedure, it's understood that his medical records were not accessed. Experts are suggesting the facility could now be facing a hefty fine of up to £17.5 million over the alleged data breach. It comes as the Princess of Wales has been making the most of her time recuperating, working from home on her early years project to improve the lives of babies. Kensington Palace confirms she's been kept up to date with the campaign, which aims to help health workers spot signs of social and emotional development in young children. Well, I have huge sympathy for Kate at the moment. I think she's under intolerable, almost intolerable pressure for a woman who has a young family, who is recovering from quite a serious operation and who is now facing the possibility. I can't imagine how vulnerable you feel, any one of us, you know, I'm not the most famous woman in the world, any one of us feeling that our private medical records have probably been accessed and potentially are about to be leaked.